The budget just killed lazy property investing. Here's what replaces it. 3 days after the 2026-27 budget, a single conversation saved one of my clients $40,000. In the next 10 minutes, I'll show you the 4% diagnostic that made that possible and tells you whether native gearing reform actually changes anything for you. If you have had 3 different pieces of advice this week and none of them agree, you're not confused. The advice is contradictory because most of it is reading the headline, not the structure. I am Rasti, CFA charter holder, 9 years managing institutional money before I built a personal 21 property portfolio across the country. Post budget, within the first few days, 3 clients, 3 different situations, 1 diagnostic. Over the next 10 minutes, I'll show you what the budget actually changed and what it didn't. The chart no developer funded channel will put on screen. A $933,000 difference on the same $700,000 purchase. The 4-question diagnostic and how a client I'll call Sandy went from $280,000 stuck to $776,000 in equity in 36 months using exactly this framework. The 2026-27 budget was the largest change to property investment taxation in 27 years. Within first week of budget night on 12th May, I've taken 3 phone calls that tell you everything about where most investors are right now. The first, a buyer who had done everything right. Deposit ready, borrowing capacity confirmed, done in place, now frozen. Because the advice they had been given in 5 days contradicted itself 4 times. The second, an owner whose accountant said, "Sir, the property is grandfathered. Selling it costs $40,000 in transaction cost for nothing." The third, 3 properties built quickly in the low rate window. Quietly asking the question every mid-portfolio investor in this country is asking right now. Was that strategy or was that luck? 3 people, 3 questions, all wrong. Because they are all reacting to the headline. None of them is looking at the structure. Here's the claim, and I'll back every word before the end of this video. The budget changed the cost of being wrong. It didn't change the engine of being right. By minute 6, 4 questions will tell you which side of that line you are on. If you can answer all 4 with a real dollar number, the budget barely affects you. If you can't answer 2 of them, you've just discovered why the next 10 years of property won't look like the last 10. There's a principle that sits underneath all of this. We call it buffers before bravado. For 20 years, the Australian property market didn't enforce it because capital growth at 6 to 8% a year forgave almost every mistake. The budget just ended that forgiveness. I'll show you buffers before bravado in action when we get to Sandy. 3 things are being mispromoted this week. I'll walk you through each. The second is sharper than the first, and the third, the one no developer funded channel will name, is the deepest. First, what the headlines got wrong about negative gearing. Most of the coverage since budget night has read, negative gearing is dead. That's not what the budget said. For purchases of established property after 7:30 p.m. on 12th May, negative gearing losses are quarantined and carried forward against future rental income or future capital gains. The 50% CGT discount gets replaced from 1st July 2027 by indexation and a 30% minimum tax on real gains. New builds remain eligible for both. Existing investors are fully grandfathered. That's all announced, not yet law, but assume it passes. That tax benefit isn't gone. It has shifted in time. National rents are growing at 5.9% a year. Most properties got today and positive within 3 to 5 years anyway. The policy didn't kill the tax benefit. It pushed it forward by 3 to 4 years. That's a delay, not a death. Now, to the second thing being Mr. Wood. This is the moment where Australia's biggest bank openly disagreed with the Treasury. The Treasury modeling note estimated the negative gearing change adds around $2 a week to median rents. CBA's senior economist Trent Saunders, modeling the exact same change, called it the equivalent of a 90 to 155 basis point rate rise on investor mortgages. National vacancy is sitting at 1.0 to 1.2%. Pre-COVID, a balanced market sat between 2.5 and 3.5%. We are materially below balanced. Net overseas migration to June last year was 306,000 people. The supply gap between population growth and dwelling completions was 250,000. You don't get a rent freeze due to 250,000 more people than houses. Rents grow. Now to the third thing. This is the one nobody else is naming out loud, because most of the people commenting on the budget are paid by the part of the industry that benefits from this confusion. New builds are being repositioned this week as a smart play under the new rules. The tax advantage on new build is real. The wealth disadvantage is bigger. The Property Investment Professionals of Australia, PIPA, published long-run data on this. Established stock compounding at 6 to 8% a year. New builds at 3 to 5. On the same $700,000 purchase over 20 years, that gap is about $933,000 in your pocket. Saving 30 grand in tax to lose nearly $1 million in growth isn't a strategy. It's a sales pitch. Most channels can't put that chart on screen because their revenue depends on developer commissions. That's not an acquisition, it's a reason to ask the question. Because the budget exposed something nobody else is naming out loud. Tax was the cause of being wealthy. It was never the cause of it. Negative gearing, the 50% CGT discount, trust distributions. For 20 years, these things built wealth on their own. They reduced the cost of holding the assets that built wealth through capital growth and rent. The budget changed the cost. It didn't change the engine. And almost the entire investor strategy question right now hinges on knowing the difference. This is where it gets practical. Get ready or memory if you are driving. 4 questions. Each one takes 30 seconds. They sound simple. They are not. Each one is a question I have spent 15 years working with institutional and retail capital, learning to ask properly. They sit in the center of what we call the property wealth blueprint. I've compressed them into a 2-minute test for you. Try them now as I go. Question 1. What's your current borrowing capacity in dollars right now? Not what it was 2 years ago, not what your broker said 6 months ago, but today. The cash rate is at 4.35%. APRA serviceability buffers been 3 percentage points since October 2021. The new debt-to-income cap of 6 times income kicked in on 1st February 2026. Borrowing capacity is structurally tighter than it has been in 15 years. If you can't name your number, you can't sequence your next move. Full stop. Question 2. How many months of all properties cash buffer do you currently hold? Cash in offset across the whole portfolio. Enough to weather 3 to 6 months of vacancy, a 1 to 2% rate rise, and one unexpected repair. This is the buffers before bravado question I mentioned earlier. For 20 years, capital growth bailed out everyone who borrowed at maximum capacity with no margin. The budget just removed that bailout. Your buffer is no longer optional. It's an entry ticket. Question 3. What's your time horizon for the next purchase? Not soon, not this year. How many years before this asset needs to do its job? The new CGT rules start on 1st of July 2027. The day before, 30th of June 2027, is the split. Anything you buy now and hold it for 10 to 15 years sits across both regimes. Question 4. What specific role does your next purchase play in the portfolio? We call this the asset job framework. 3 roles: growth engine, yield stabilizer, value add. Every asset does one of them. If you can't tell me which one your next property is, you're not buying for the portfolio, you're buying the property. 4 questions, 2 minutes. If any of them gave you a pause, that's not a sign you have done something wrong. It's a sign the market stopped charging you for the gap. Now it will. Watch what happens when someone actually has all 4 questions answered beforehand. 4 years ago, I sat down with a client. I'll call him Sandy. IT professional, mid-40s, 2 kids, working too many hours. He came in with $280,000 in equity and $210,000 in cash. And he was stuck. Not because he didn't have the resources. He clearly did. He was stuck because every piece of advice he had received over 18 months had pulled him in different direction. Sydney, wait, shares, Brisbane, his own home. He didn't have a market problem. He had a clarity problem. So we ran the 4 questions. Borrowing capacity confirmed across 3 lenders. Buffer 12 months logged across every future property. That's buffers before bravado in action. Non-negotiable before any acquisition. Time horizon 15 years. Asset role mapped per purchase using the asset job framework. Growth engine, yield stabilizer, hybrid. 4 properties over 36 months. All 4 regional, 4 different states, now sitting with $776,000 in equity growth. Sandy's outcome wasn't because property went up. Property went up for everyone in that window. His outcome was buying the right properties in the right order with the right buffers. The diagnostic is what made it possible. One more example, this one from this week. 3 days after the budget, other client called me. He wanted to sell an established property because his accountant said negative gearing was quote-unquote dead. We ran the same 4 questions. Borrowing capacity intact. Buffers 12 months. Time horizon 12 years. Will clear on the 2027 transition. Portfolio role, yield stabilizer, doing exactly its job. Here's the part the accountant missed. The property was grandfathered. The budget didn't touch it. The right answer was to do nothing. That conversation prevented the $40,000 mistake I mentioned at the start of this video. That's what the 4 questions are for. Not to make you act faster, to make sure you don't act on the wrong thing. So let me close where I started. For 20 years, capital growth at 6 to 8% a year bailed out almost every property mistake in this country. Wrong property, wrong order, no buffer, no plan. The market forgave all of it. The 2026-27 budget removed the forgiveness. Buffers before bravado isn't a slogan anymore. It's an entry ticket. The budget didn't break property. It stopped subsidizing the lazy version of it. If you couldn't answer the 4 questions on the first pass, you don't have a property problem. You have a clarity gap. That's the easier of the 2 to fix. 2 next steps if you want them. The first answers the question, what exactly did the budget change for my situation? The briefing page is linked below. The second answers the question, how do my 4 answers actually compare? The strategy call is in the description. It's free, structured, no obligation. We use the same diagnostic in the room. Sometimes the right answer is to wait. We can say that without a financial penalty because we're not paid by anyone except you. One last thing before I let you go. The 4 questions are a snapshot. Question 1 and question 3 tell you where you are standing. Question 2 tells you what's protecting you. Question 4 tells you what you are building. But They don't tell you where you're going. For that, you need the framework that sits on top of the diagnostic. We call it the GPS framework. Grow, protect, secure. 3 stages every property portfolio moves through in that exact order. The budget just made knowing which stage you are in significantly more valuable. I've covered the GPS framework in detail in the next video. In this series, if the 4 questions were useful, that's the natural next watch. One last line. The budget didn't break property. It stopped subsidizing the lazy version of it. See you in the next one.